Genesis chapter 30. In Genesis chapter 30, we delve into the ongoing narrative of Jacob's family. At this point, Jacob has two wives, Leah and Rachel, and they both desire to have children. Let's explore the key verses in this chapter to gain a deeper understanding. Verse 1. Rachel, who was still unable to conceive, begins to feel intense feelings of frustration and longing for children. She expresses her pain to Jacob, saying, "Give me children, or I'll die." This verse showcases the deep desire Rachel had in her heart to become a mother. Verse 2. In response to Rachel's plea, Jacob becomes somewhat exasperated and says, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" Jacob reminds Rachel that he does not have the power to control fertility, and it is ultimately God who decides when and how to bless with children. Verses 3-8. Rachel, undeterred by her barrenness, comes up with an alternative plan. She gives her maidservant, Bilhah, to Jacob as a wife in order to bear children through her. Bilhah conceives and gives birth to two sons, Dan and Naphtali. It's important to note that this arrangement was culturally accepted in those times, even though it may seem unusual to us today. Verses 9-13. Leah, realizing Rachel's success, also follows a similar path. She gives her maidservant Zilpah to Jacob as a wife. Zilpah gives birth to two sons, Gad and Asher. We see that both Rachel and Leah are actively seeking ways to fulfill their desires for children. Verses 14-16. Reuben, Leah's eldest son, finds mandrakes in the field and brings them to his mother. Rachel sees the mandrakes and, believing they have fertility-enhancing properties, desires them for herself. Rachel and Leah engage in a negotiation, ultimately leading to an arrangement where Leah gives Rachel the mandrakes in exchange for a night with Jacob. Verses 17-21. In this section, the focus shifts to how God blessed Leah with additional children. She conceives and gives birth to two more sons, Issachar and Zebulun. She also bears a daughter named Dinah. These births symbolize God's favor and his faithfulness to bless Leah. Verses 22-24. Finally, after enduring years of barrenness, God remembers Rachel's heartfelt longing for a child. He opens her womb, and she conceives and gives birth to a son named Joseph. After the birth of Joseph, Jacob approaches his father-in-law, Laban, and asks to be allowed to return to his homeland with his wives and children. However, Laban convinces Jacob to stay by making an arrangement to benefit both parties. Genesis 30:27-34. Laban proposes that Jacob decide what wages he will receive for tending Laban's flocks. Jacob suggests a unique agreement where he will take all the speckled and spotted sheep and goats as his wages, while Laban keeps all the non-speckled and non-spotted ones. Laban agrees, thinking that this arrangement will leave Jacob with few future gains. Genesis 30:35-36. Jacob then uses a strategy to increase the number of speckled and spotted livestock. He places peeled rods in the water troughs in front of the mating animals, causing them to produce offspring with speckled and spotted markings. Genesis 30:37-39. God blesses Jacob's efforts, and he prospers with an abundance of speckled and spotted livestock, while Laban's flock diminishes. Genesis 30:40-43. Jacob's prosperity becomes evident to both Laban and his sons, who become envious of Jacob's growing wealth. Genesis 31:1. This narrative of Genesis chapter 30 shows how God blesses Jacob and honors his faithfulness in fulfilling his agreement with Laban. It also portrays the worldly jealousy and dishonesty that arise between Laban and his family, which eventually leads to Jacob's departure in the following chapters. As we examine this passage, we can reflect on the themes of faithfulness, trust in God's provision, and the consequences of envy and deceit. What lessons or insights do you draw from this part of Genesis chapter 30? Let us know in the comment section below.